Hello and welcome to Legacy of Latin America. Today we will be talking about Africa's influence on Latin America. Latino culture is made up of European, indigenous, and African culture. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe and like this video for more informational content on Latin America. Latino is a term widely used to identify people of Latin American origin, which includes countries such as Mexico, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and many others, regardless of race. Afro Latino refers to individuals of African heritage who reside in Latin America or have a Latin American background but also have African roots. These individuals are visible representations of the vast and complex historical interactions taking place between African and Latin American cultures throughout history. African heritage has played a significant role in shaping the culture, traditions, and identity of Latinos in the Caribbean, Central America, and South America. Due to the long history of colonization in Latin America, there is a great deal of ethnic and racial diversity in the region. Over the years, many people have argued that Latinos are mixed with African, and this argument is backed up by a lot of evidence. The African presence in Latin America is well documented, as Africans were brought over as slaves to work in the sugar fields and mines. As such, many Latinos have African ancestors. During the colonial era, European colonizers brought over millions of Africans to Latin America as slaves. These Africans were forced to work under brutal conditions, and many were subjected to inhumane treatment. Despite the brutality, many Africans managed to resist and form communities in Latin America. Over time, these communities intermingled with other ethnic groups, including the indigenous people of Latin America and the European colonizers. As a result of this intermixing, many Latinos have African heritage. It is clear that many Latinos are mixed with African, especially because of Latinos who are racially black, aka Afro Latinos. The African presence in Latin America is undeniable, with millions of Africans brought over as slaves during the colonial era. These Africans formed communities and intermarried with other ethnic groups in Latin America, creating a diverse and rich cultural heritage that has lasted to this day. While the issue of race and ethnicity remains a sensitive one, it is important to acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of all ethnic groups in Latin America. So yes, many Latinos are mixed with African and may not even know it. This includes Latinos who may lean more on the European side, alongside indigenous and mestizo Latinos. But what about Afro Latinos? And what is an Afro Latino? An Afro Latino is an individual who racially identifies as black but culturally and ethnically identifies as Latino. One's African ancestry has historically been disregarded or suppressed within the Latin American community, resulting in Afro-Latinos being underrepresented and facing discrimination. However, as conversations around intersectionality and diversity persist, the Afro-Latino identity is receiving more attention and becoming increasingly acknowledged. One of the most evident ways in which Africa influenced Latinos is in their music. African rhythms and beats characterize many Latin genres such as salsa, reggae, and samba. The fusion of African and Latin music has created some of the most vibrant and exuberant rhythms, which have been enjoyed and appreciated worldwide. Latin music has been a critical element for the expression and identity of Afro-Latinos, reflecting the influence of African culture on the region's music scene. In addition to music, religion has also been an essential factor in the growth of the Afro-Latino community. African slaves were brought to the Americas and introduced their spiritual and religious beliefs, which eventually influenced the development of new religions such as Santeria, Candomblé, and Vodou. These religions today form the basis of the Afro-Latino spiritual practices, and they are an incredibly important part of the Afro-Latino cultural identity. Language is another area in which Africa's influence is apparent. Many Africans spoke various African languages and their mother tongue, which influenced some of the spoken languages of the Latin American countries they were brought to. For example, Some Nigerian languages have contributed significantly to the development of Papiamento, a Creole language spoken in the Dutch and French-speaking Caribbean islands. Cuisine is yet another area where Afro Latinos can trace their influence to Africa. African foods have played a significant role in the development of many traditional Latin American dishes. For instance, African-inspired dishes like the Brazilian maquica, Cuban moros y cristianos, or Puerto Rican mofongo are some of the culinary delights that blend African and Latin American flavors. Finally, Africa has influenced the arts, dance, and fashion of Afro-Latinos. The art and fashion of Africa have profoundly influenced Afro-Latino culture. And it's not uncommon to see African prints and designs in contemporary fashion trends. Dance is another area where African rhythms influence movement and choreography. Many Latin dances, such as samba, rumba, and reggaeton, are characterized by their lively beats and hip-swaying movements influenced by the African rhythm. In conclusion, Afro-Latinos continue to celebrate their African heritage through their music, dance, art, religion, cuisine, and language. The influence of Africa on Latino culture is apparent. And there is no denying that the Afro-Latino community has evolved and grown to reflect Africa's influence. Understanding the shared history and appreciating the unique blend of African and Latin American cultures is the first step in recognizing the contributions that Afro-Latinos have made to Latina America's vibrant and diverse cultural landscape. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you and goodbye.